Hey everybody, this video is going to go over how you make an APA reference entry for a journal article that you found in a closed database. So that would be a database that you access through your school library, for example. Be sure to like and subscribe below to keep these videos coming. We're going to start at the APA Styles homepage where it talks about the elements that go into a reference entry. So there are 4 elements that we use in all reference entries. That would be your author, date, title, and source. This really gets more specifically into the source aspect in terms of the databases that you use to find a source. So what I did is I found their specific information about databases, and there are 3 basic rules for what you include in that source section if you found an article in a database. Rule number 1 is if it is an open access database like Google Scholar, PubMed, or ScienceDirect, that database does not go into your reference entry. You just cite it with the journal title, volume, issue, page numbers, and a DOI or a URL if there's not a DOI. If you found it through a closed database, there are 2 rules for closed databases, and closed databases would be the ones like ProQuest, that you would find through your school library, EBSCO, JSTOR, those kinds of things that you access through your school. Basically, the rule of thumb is if your article has a DOI, then you use that as the very last piece of your reference entry. For example, right here. So this example had a DOI, so that is the very last thing in your reference entry. However, if the article that you're looking at does not have a DOI, you would treat it as a print source. So you would not include a URL because the person reading it may not have the level of access to that article that you do. So it would end with the page numbers. However, the exception to that is if you are using a database that has original content. And the most common one that I see at my university is CQ Researcher. They actually produce their own academic articles. That is considered original or proprietary content. And basically the rule of thumb is if you have a database like this that is original content, then after the title of the article, you put the database name in italics, and then if you have an actual link, you can use the DOI link, and if you do not have a specific link to that article, you would use the link to the home page for the database instead. Let me give you an example. So let's start with, this is an article that I found in the science database in ProQuest. And when I use the citation button over here on the right hand side, most schools' databases do have a citation button. Just because it has a citation button doesn't mean that they're always correct, so you still need to check those. But when I hit cite, it's going to pop up with my with the default, however it's whatever format it's set for the default. And this is the APA 6th edition. If you are following APA, right now we are on the 7th edition. So this is not giving me the correct citation. So I have to click on the drop-down menu to find the APA 7th. And for us, we also have an annotated option. That would give you like an abstract for the article, but that's not what you want for your reference entry page. So we just want the plain 7th edition. And then what it gives me, what you want to look really closely at is this last part. This is a direct link to the article. Now that's great in theory, except that this is specific to you having logged in using your identification information. If I try to use that, that may not work for me as the instructor. So APA says that if there's not a DOI, which is a permanent link, then you would stop it after the page number. So this citation, actually, if you were going to copy and paste it, you would only use to the page number because there is not a DOI. So it would stop at 191. And as the instructor, I would have to be finding that. The only difference is if your instructor specifically asks that you include the link, then go ahead and do that. So that would be instructor specific. But APA says that it would stop at the page number because there's not a DOI. All right, so let's look at this one. Now this is another example of one that I found. And again, when I hit the citation button, now this is going to open to the 7th because I was just in the 7th edition. But you can see here, this one has a DOI. So this one would be fine to copy and to paste into my Works Cited page. That one would be fine because it's a DOI. Now again, if it was just a regular link, you would need to delete that. But this one is okay. Now, the example for the original proprietary content. So this is CQ Researcher. It is a closed database, so my student fees paid for access to this database through our library. Anything that I find on here that they produced, I would have to give a link to this homepage. This is the login page for CQ Researcher. So for example, if I chose this article that is on disappearing species in CQ Researcher, this is something you can see here. The publisher is CQ Press. So they actually published this article. So what I would do is hit the cite button again, and the format that it gives me is APA. However, it's not quite correct. So of course we have our author, we have our date, we have our title. The only thing that I need next is the title of the database in italics. So that would be CQ Researcher. We don't need the in or CQ Press. And then this does have a DOI, so I would leave that DOI. If, however, it did not have a DOI, I would go back to this home page, go up here, copy this link, and use that instead. That basically tells the instructor, hey, you're going to have to log in with your access to CQ Researcher in order to find this particular article. And then I would have to just search by the title to find your source. So that basically covers how to do the reference entries for sources that you find in closed databases. I hope that this helps. Good luck on your project and have a great day.